Let's get some background just before we jump into it. Initially announced in mid-2012, Cyberpunk 2077 was set to release in early 2020. The hype was about as high as it could get, closer towards 2019 when at E3 they finally had something to showcase. With the fan favourite Keanu Reeves showed us that it's time to
wake the fuck up, samurai.
Because
we have a city to burn.
With the lockdown from the beer virus causing gamers globally to become more and more needy for the next game release, as they had a large spike in free time. This only caused more and more hype to be built up, and with that hype came expectations. Due to the game being in development for just shy of a decade, the expectations were set rather high, as should most things that are being developed for that long. And given the fact that The Witcher was most people's go-to comparison for the game, which I will not be doing, didn't help either. So the pressure was on for CD Projekt to release an all-new, game-breaking release to the gaming sector, and while it did do that in some aspects, it fell short in a few others. Don't worry, there won't be any spoilers to the game, and I'll be brief, but the story has you playing as V, where their life has been turned upside down, and now they're short on cash and pretty much everything else. So your trusted friend Jackie Wells pulls you out of the pit of despair and fuckery and makes you become a cyberpunk. Living a life of partial crime, doing both bad and good for the people of Night City. While I don't dislike any of the story to the game, I do find it a bit pointless at times. I did also find myself skipping a lot of the dialogue at points within the story, and surprisingly I didn't get lost within the story at any point. As far as I know, there are 3 parts to the story: discovering Keanu's past, becoming a legend in Night City, and trying to keep yourself alive for reasons that I won't explain for spoiler reasons. In my opinion, it's a good way of allowing the player to focus on different sections of the story that they would wish to do. For example, I enjoyed doing the gigs first as they allowed me to ascend to the level that the wokies think they're at on Twitter, X. This made it so that I was effectively throwing neutron stars at anyone who decided to touch me in the middle of combat. While this probably isn't the way that most of you masochists would play the game, it is how I played, purely because I was trying to enjoy the story and the character development of both V and Keanu and those surrounding them. For my next playthrough, however, when the new update comes around, I will be making the game a proper challenge for myself. Then I can play the game without having to worry about missing any of the story, and I can skip right through all the fucking monologues. Despite the fact that my first ending without having to look anything up was the ending that causes V to off himself, it's safe to say that I enjoyed the story and that I will be playing it again. The make or break of the game, for me mainly because I prefer games where I can play the game despite having finished the main story/objective. As a quick example, I'm going to bring up Shadow of War, which is a game that was released around 6 years ago. This game had a funny thing called the Nemesis system. This made it so that the majority of the main enemies and allies you come across were caused and made by you. Yes, you. See that cunt? Yeah, he's your problem and your fault. So if you were able to kill someone by cleaving them in half, then they had the small chance to come back, having survived that ordeal, and seeking revenge. This mechanic caused almost infinite replayability in the game. This is evident by me having... fuck me, almost 1,000 hours. What the fuck have I been doing? Unfortunately, they did trademark this idea, which forever limited the capability of games. Think what this game could have been like if they had the Nemesis system linked to it. This game does also have a very wide variety of weapons that you could use to kill said enemies. These range from monowires, mantis blades, monkey arms, katanas, bats, knives, hand cannons, pistols, revolvers, shotguns, snipers, SMGs, LMGs, and straight up just hacking them to commit die with the big sad. My personal favourite being the monowire, as it deals insane crit damage as well as having a decent range for a melee weapon. All of the weapons mentioned have a fuck ton of skills that you can spec into. This makes V the jack of all trades, the fucking epitome of a futuristic warrior. Now this could all be subject to change as there is an update for the game scheduled soon, So the way that each weapon is used could be completely different, or it might be ever so slightly fucked with. So I guess it's all wasted breath anyway, so it doesn't really matter. This obviously wouldn't be a Cyberpunk video without showcasing and talking the shitstorm that is the bugs within the game. I would also be lying if I said that I found the bugs annoying, because if anything, they were funny as fuck. Do need to keep in mind that the bugs are what made the game so infamous. While I never actually encountered any game-breaking bugs, I did run into a few bugs. But they were more of a fucking joke than an actual game-breaking experience. So while the bugs never ruined me playing the game, they actually only made it better. I'm sure that there are still some bugs that do make the game go a bit fuck. All in all, they made my time playing the game a lot more enjoyable, if anything. For the fuckos who skip straight to this section, first of all, fuck you. Go watch the rest of the video, then come back here. And second of all, I don't really get why you do that. You skip the whole video. Like, what's the fucking point? But to be honest, I genuinely enjoyed my playthrough of Cyberpunk, and it's safe to say that I will be returning to Night City again as a whole new V when the new update hits. But one thing won't change. The use of these fucking copper cables is insane.